The very first time I heard the name of Frank Martin was during my student years at the Geneva Conservatory. I did solfège and harmony and contrepoint. And then Didier Godel, my teacher for solfège, he used a lot of Frank Martin's music. So that's the very first time. And as a matter of fact, Didier Godel was the conductor of this choir from Geneva called Le Chant Sacré, who first performed Golgotha. It was written for them, so nice connection. And then I was a flute player, so as a flute player, I was introduced to La Ballade pour flûte, of course. And I remember I was, 16, 17 years old, and what all teenagers do, if you like it, you like it, like serious. So I used even the beginning to warm up and to put the lips together, and I played it obsessively, like, I don't know, but dozens of times a day, just to get the right length, the right shape. And I wanted, as a really young person, to get the idea of this continuity where nothing happens and it's where everything happens. So that was the first physical experience with Martin. It was this wonderful ballade. The very first piece I conducted was La Petite Symphonie Concertante with 3 soloists from Geneva, and we played it in La Grande Salle du Conservatoire here in Geneva. I remember, because I was a real beginner as a conductor, and the orchestra was not even familiar with Martin's music. That's the big question, How come? But we will talk about it later. And I remember we did sectionals, one orchestra after the other, to understand the essence and the ideas of this. Sometimes I think like lamentations, but now that I've conducted many pieces and regularly his music, I see this more not like a lamentation but like a march, but a very calm march. I imagine being in like sur le chemin de Compostelle, or something like you go there to calm and empty your spirit and to go to the essence of what you choose to be. And in Martin's music, I find this a lot. But I remember as a very young conductor, an inexperienced conductor, like the more the Petite Symphonie goes with the slow part, and then the very joyful ending of the piece. I had the same mental and physical reaction to create my own action, which is, oh my gosh, it's really difficult to conduct and I have no experience. So almost as a trick, I say, okay, the less I will do, the better. And I let the music go. And I remember sometimes, it was in 2 and suddenly just in 1, for ternaire, and as a young conductor, you ask the question: shall I do it in 3 or I stay in 1? And of course you stay in 1, but as a young conductor, you have no experience. You ask, and then I remember very well that this music helped me to let it go, very, very much, physically and mentally. Martin is one of the unique composers where I have this peace. Inner peace, preparing, studying, understanding, making musical ideas going together, finding a sound, finding a Phrasierung, but in such a peace. With other composers, I'm not judging, of course, anybody. Everybody has his Every composer has his own way. But sometimes you have a struggle when you study complex composers. And you get provoked, and it makes an emulation in your brain. And to how, first of all, to understand the concept and how the piece is made, to have the overview. But with Martin, like a mystery, I never have this struggle. Is always having the feeling that you go inside and you understand his ideas, his simplicity to the beauty. It's accessible and it's very spiritual at the same time. And this is, for a conductor from Geneva like me, it's extremely comforting. Like, there's never a fear, there's never a question that I don't understand. The only question I get from Martin's music are the questions about the essence of life, or the correspondence with the writers he's using, or the poets he's using for his music. Or he wrote a lot of music for occasions like a celebration, an anniversary, for an institution, or so even if it's not religious, he always, no, not always, not true, but very often use single occasions. And that's very inspiring as well. And I could say Martin's music always gave me the courage to undertake impossible things. You know, to me, Martin is much more than a composer. And that's why I'm very attracted to, even without knowing anything about him, when I started to discover, I felt it was more than composing music. He's a visionary man, and also a humble man, putting the notion of art before his own glory or success or recognition. And this is transparent in every bar he writes, whether it's a Peaceful Children, whether it's a big symphonic piece. Also, the way he's using harmony is very, very specific to him. And so I think Martin was unconsciously influenced because he's very clever, and he did not live in isolation. He traveled a lot. He was even teaching for a few years in Germany. So he was totally aware. But is that going to change his way of music? Absolutely not. And this, I think, when you see everything what happened in the 20th century, Rachmaninoff, Stravinsky, Ravel, Debussy, Bartok, all the thing also in America, the American schools developing and everything. And he was aware of it. It was like the more he knew, the more he was reinforced in his way of writing, simplicity. What strikes me the most with Martin's music is his need to be simple. And for musicians, it's the strongest message I can receive from a composer is, Thierry, stop. No, don't be too complicated. It's actually very simple. And beauty is what we are all looking for in simplicity. That's what we all trying for, and of course, and thanks, never achieving, only in very rare moments of our lives. Pushing myself, choosing one piece, I would tell you Pavane, Couleur du Temps. And I can give you how I arrived, some words, how I arrived on that. Because first I was going to tell you a religious piece, because I'm very inspired by his religious pieces. But actually with La Pavane, it's Couleur du Temps. There are many orchestrations, but the orchestration for chamber music, string instruments it's for me a reflection about nostalgia and that the time is playing with us. And it's very poetic, and it's probably symbolizing, and it's incredibly accessible. It's so beautiful. Like, you know, even if you don't know it, you hear La Pavane, you say, oh my gosh, but who is this composer? How come I don't know this? You know, it's really this effect. So I would take as this one shot the poetic aspect, like playing with literary influences, and as he was very calm and letting things happen in nostalgia or in joy. And in this Pavane, actually, what I like so much is you stay in this mood of reflection, of kind of serenity, in a floating mood, and just there's a, without going in details because it's not interesting, just in the middle there's an harmony going with the cello. You think, how come is he breaking the mood? But it's exactly because he's playing with the moods in the air, I think, in this piece, is the way I read it, or what I like in it. So yeah, one piece. I will not go to Requiem or Inter Pax or the opera or chamber music or concerto. I will stay with what is symbolizing eternity. And this is La Pavane Couleur du Temps for me. I believe there is a lot of Switzerland in Martin's approach to his own life and to his compositions, of course. And being Swiss, from the same town as Frank Martin, what I see if I'm trying to see what is Swiss in this music, is probably the clarity, kind of precision, which is open to liberty, but you know, it starts with a very strong concept, and knowing Martin, some elegance as well. His personality, he was a very elegant man, I mean, philosophically and from a humanistic point of view as well. And the peacefulness and the strong elements of the nature, which can be very radical. I mean, less and less with the global warming, but at the time of Martin, you know, he loved going to Swiss mountains a lot to hike. So all these influences, I think we can say that, yeah, it's a Swiss way of imagining how can sound have an effect both on him and the people he's writing the music for. Yeah. Precision, elegance, calm, organization, clear concepts, and simplicity. And kind of neutrality as well, because Swiss is a neutral country. I'm just thinking about it now, but yeah, the fact that he was flying over the 20th century like an angel, as I said before, is also a kind of neutrality. He kept, you know, things, you know, the conflictual, musicologic approaches. He knew they were happening, but he kept on top of it. So he could be Swiss. Yeah. I cannot see that we see a radical difference in his way of composing, or if we can make a category of the Swiss years and the Dutch years in his writing. I think it's evaluating as it should and has been, but I can see a breaking point in his works. From who I am, a Swiss guy from Geneva, I cannot say that I see a lot of Dutch influences in his music. Conducting Martin on different continents, my first reaction is that you can see on the faces of the musicians this astonishment, like how beautiful it is, and how come I've never played that in my life of musician. And this, because the kind of imperturbable way of going through motives harmonically and horizontally as well is so unique that even with experienced musicians in orchestra, when they play Martin for the first time, they are taken by it, and it has its unstoppable attraction, especially if you don't know it. And that's absolutely beautiful. And you see the same, in French we say les étoiles dans les yeux, the stars in the eyes, you know, in any part of the world, musicians performing Frank Martin. It was very funny when we played the harpsichord concerto. Some musicians told me, normally I don't like dark music, but this music is darkness I want to go to, like Hitchcock. You want to know what's going to happen. There is not one single time I programmed or performed a piece by Martin where I got other words than unbelievable. Shame on me, I did not know that before. Martin's music is that simple that to perform it, you need really to be humble yourself and to give all the credit to the beauty. You have to go further into yourself with authenticity and not perform it for you, but for so it goes beyond the personalities, Frank Martin. In the orchestra repertoire, in chamber music, there are pieces known for, oh, that would be amazing to finish the concert with this piece, because, you know, it's going to make, you know, everybody will be happy at the end. So you play, I don't know, I don't want to name pieces because I don't want to give any disrespect. But I mean, that's a perfect end concert piece. You know, and sometimes, if you need to score as a conductor or as a soloist, you say, I want to play this flashy concerto, or I want to do this piece to show exactly who I am. And Martin is exactly the opposite. You cannot show who you are with playing Martin's music. You can only be at the service of who he was. Probably is one of the reasons I can see that mainly artists are not irresistibly attracted to perform Martin's music, is because it's not about people, it's about him.